All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode for Smart Financial Jewels. I'm your host, King Jewelz, here, locked and loaded, ready for another episode that we have to give to you today. We are here with one of our new and special guests who is going to be talking to us about how he is a film director and also a filmmaker, a content creator, ultimately, that is making his dreams a reality by bringing a lot of his ideas into conceptualization and manifestation. He is working on a big project currently right now with he and one of his co-directors who we've interviewed recently too, to talk about their project that is on Amazon. And we are going to allow him to tell us his background in film, talk to us about his finances that he finances his projects, how does he creatively finance the projects, and all the information that you want to know behind the scenes of how to get a project funded like this. And so, without further ado, I'm going to get ready to bring on my very special guests. If this is your first time joining us, the Smart Financial Jewels podcast was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And then also, you can listen to us on any podcast streaming platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search for the Smart Financial Jewels podcast, and you can listen to our previous episodes. And also check us out on Wisdom or Twitter or X and all other podcast streaming platforms. Thanks to everyone who is joining us for today's episode. This episode has been sponsored by StreamYard. StreamYard is the live streaming platform that we use for each of our episodes to have successful recording and audio. You can use the exclusive link that we're putting in the comment section to get $10 off with the discounted packages today. And so, shout out to StreamYard, who has been our official sponsor for most of our episodes that we've done for all of our Smart Jewels Network podcast episodes that we produce. And so, shout out to StreamYard. But without further ado, we want to introduce you all to our very special guest again. He goes by the name of Cosmo. I'm going to let him introduce himself fully to you all, but let's give our eyes and also our ears a listen for today's episode guest. Cosmo, how are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come
Absolutely.
on and share some smart financial jewels with our audience in reference to your projects. If you can just, before we start, tell people a little bit about your background, Cosmo, where you're from, where you're streaming with us today, and tell us how did you even get into the film industry?
Yeah. So I'm from Philadelphia, currently streaming from Philadelphia. And it's where we actually made our movie right outside of Philadelphia. So born and raised, kind of built everything I did around movies around here. I started back in local television when I first started almost over 20 years ago. And kind of built from there. It was not the most direct path to the place that I ended up today, but it was a road that eventually brought me here. Movies is something that I always loved and wanted to do, but as most people know, they are expensive to make, and they are also it's an industry that's very hard to get into. So I worked my way up from the bottom, pretty much started out as a production assistant in local television, learned the creative side of things, and bounced around through many networks and studios over probably about 12 years. Learning the ropes, learning who to talk to, learning the ins and outs of the business. Um, you know, when even when you're not directly involved in all the productions and where I started out kind of more in the marketing promotion side of the television and film industry. You get to meet a lot of the players behind the scenes along the way. So you get a very exclusive kind of behind the scenes education of how things are done. And if you're smart enough over the years, you kind of compile all this knowledge. When you're ready to kind of tackle things on your own or get started on a project on your own, you kind of built that knowledge. But so built myself up through television. Back in 2010, I won my first Emmy for some marketing work that I did. Shortly after 10, 12 years of moving around the country, I found myself back in the Philadelphia area where I started my own production business. I thought it was time to kind of start putting myself onto the path towards the movie I've always wanted to make since I was little. And kind of spent the next 10 years after that, after I left the mainstream television world, building my own production company locally here in the greater Philadelphia area. Worked on commercial work, worked on music videos, kind of just whatever work would throw at me, and kind of found the players and the people that I wanted to work with, and kind of built that team up until it became possible and the opportunity came to make the feature film. I know a lot of people jump out and want to do the big project and reach their big goal right away. My goal was to do a feature film before I was 40, and we wrapped production on it 5 days before my 40th birthday. So it doesn't always happen right at the beginning. The biggest key, I think, to do it is to do it wisely and smartly. No matter what kind of path you're set on, just make sure you're committed to what your goals actually are. That's kind of what the whole 20 to 25 year career that I've done in this industry has led to, and has allowed this opportunity to share this film, to be able to sit here and talk about making films and how to do it with you, and kind of where we are now. So that's where we are.
Absolutely, and shout out to Philadelphia too. I know we've had a lot of guests on from the north, and so we always
Mhm.
want to give shout out. I'm in the south in Atlanta,
Okay.
Cosmo, so it's definitely a way different weather scene down here at this
Little
time of
bit.
year.
It's starting to get cold here.
That's what I was about to ask with the weather. I know it's getting cold over there, so you're
Hmm.
bundled up. We're not yet there, but we'll
Yes,
be there
sweater weather,
shortly.
finally.
Absolutely. And so we thank you for letting us know a little bit about your background,
Hmm.
especially in winning an Emmy. Congratulations with
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
That's a major achievement. And even producing your first major film before 40, that's a wonderful goal to have, especially as a filmmaker. What
Hmm.
we want to even start from is the beginnings. Like, talk to us, Cosmo, like how did you get into the industry? Did you have a mentor? Did you have an internship? Like talk to us about how did you get in, and also like what were some of the passions that you had for film even from a young age when you were still in school or in grade school?
Yeah, I mean, my love of film kind of started when I was a little kid. Actually, the first film that I saw that really made me want to make movies was Jurassic Park. If you go and actually look at a lot of the behind the scenes photos from when we were making Nico, I wear a lot of Jurassic Park attire when I'm doing it. I'm a huge Steven Spielberg fan, but that was the first kind of movie that kind of made me like, I was 12 years old at the time when it came out, and I was just blown away at what you could do with movies. I've always loved movies, but that was really the first one that kind of ignited that passion to really do that. And that's when I started really becoming involved in movies and wanting to research and how they're made and how they're done. I remember if you go back to Universal Orlando way back in the day when it was more than roller coasters. It was actually a working studio lot where they taught you how they made movies. I remember they had Alfred Hitchcock presents, and you'd wait in line, and they would show you how they did the special effects and the green screen work, and And it was part of the ride. They show you how they made Twister. They used Murder, She Wrote as a way to teach you Foley sound, and there was just ways to kind of experience and learn that education, when I was little and having fun. So, I was always gravitated to that. My parents always take me to Orlando, wanted to go out to Hollywood, and kind of see all that. The first chance I get, again, took the Universal Backlot tour, being able to see the sound stages and really kind of get engrossed in that. So that's kind of where the passion and the love for the movies came from, and started to learn, okay, what type of roles can I do? Everybody wants to be a director, everybody wants to be an actor and in front of the cameras. But, if you look at a lot of the, major pictures that come out today, especially on the large scales of Marvel or anything, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that work on this movie. So there are different roles, depending on whatever your passion. It doesn't have to actually be, be on camera or be the director. So starting out, to get into movies, it's probably the best to kind of look at one of those, not all in the spotlight roles. So I started out in college not really knowing what I wanted to do. In fact, when I first started college, I was for elementary education. And, within a couple months of me being there, I found the television studio at my school. Shout out to Shippensburg University. There they had a live truck, they had a green screen, they had a news studio, they had all the tools that, I remember seeing growing up, and, could put together television shows and movies. And I immediately switched my majors and started going that path. And, found a group of friends who kind of was as passionate as I was, about the movies and the movie making process. I think that's something that you'll find as, I kind of go through my story, that, the people that you surround yourself with and are the people that are going to help you kind of reach these goals and help you learn and be better and open those doors for you. Because, as I said, most of these big movies, have hundreds of people working on it. Most of the independent movies don't. So you need to be surrounded by the right people, because you can't do it yourself. No matter what role you want to play. So I found kind of the right group of people. We had the tools, and my professors at the time said, we're using this stuff in ways that nobody else used them before. When I first started in college, we were still editing tape to tape, and it was kind of my junior year when nonlinear editing came out and Final Cut 1 was introduced, and nobody at the school knew how to use any of it. They just dumped 25 Macs into a lab and said, hey, we have this, we don't really know what it is. So I kind of took the job as a work-study job and became the computer lab monitor slash technician, and taught myself how to nonlinear edit it before they even had classes for that. So I was kind of already ahead of the game in that aspect. And then, time got on. We made our little independent movies at the school, and we did the live TV broadcasts, and we made our shows, and it's a lot of fun. But when you get to senior year, you start realizing there has to be an opportunity to be able to do this professionally and make money off of it. And that's where your first big hurdle in this business is really going to come face to face with. And talking to some people that were in the industry, through the guest speakers that they had, everybody just kept saying to me, internship, 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 internship. That's what's going to open the doors. So applied to every single internship that I could. Was lucky enough to get one with NBC. And it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't anything. It was in the door. And that's kind of, you hear a lot of the Hollywood studios, it's always, or Hollywood stories, it's always what gets you in the door. And, that was kind of the job that got me in the door. I volunteered for one of their little expo things and helped organize a line, and, for some green screen activity they had for a fan base for one of their events. And, eventually met one of their creative directors and said, hey, you seem to know what you're doing. are you looking for an internship? And I said, yeah. And that was kind of the way that it got me in the door. It was in a department that I had no idea that it even existed. I didn't know what advertising and promotion was. I didn't know what movie marketing was. But I said, hey, this is in the door, and got in the door, and I learned what it was. And I took every opportunity to make myself available, to be available for any project that they had. Way back in the day, internships were not paid. So it was completely a summer of volunteering and, kind of doing what I love to do and learning how it's done in the real world and what connections I had to make. So I already had a leg up because they introduced nonlinear editing. So I knew the systems, and I was already ahead of the game. Met the people that I needed to meet. So when it came time for graduation, I think I applied to 120 plus some jobs coming out of college, and I would say about 98% I never heard from. The other 1.5% sent rejections. And then I called up the place where I had my internship, and I said, hey, the last day of my internship, you said if I ever needed anything, reach out. So I need a job. And they said, okay, we can help you out. It's not going to be what you want to do. If it's okay, it only pays $12 an hour. Sure, let me do it. And I ran the teleprompter at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I did that for about 2 months. But that was the step that got me in the door, because shortly after that, the person who gave me my internship said, hey, somewhere else in another part of NBC, they're looking for a role I think you'd be interested in. And I interviewed for that job, and it still wasn't the job that I wanted, but I took it. And ended up moving, and that's kind of what really started me on the kind of marketing and creative journey into television and film, making commercials and trailers and that kind of stuff. So getting your start may not always take you down the road. It's about finding the opportunities that when they present themselves and taking full advantage of it, and when you have friends and groups of people that kind of feel that, have the same kind of, drive and passion that you had, a bunch of my friends, at college, we all had internships at the similar time. A couple of us all had it at NBC too. So it was just a great experience. And it wasn't easy, my graduating class in television and film coming out of Shippensburg was over 1,000 people, and there was only about 30 of us that had jobs in television and film when it was said and done. A lot of other people went to marketing or just general advertising and other paths. So it may not always be the path that you expect, but just take every opportunity, and it may not be what you want at first, but the opportunity is always there for you to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, no, that's important for all of us to know, especially for those who are creatives or even entrepreneurs, that really just humbling yourself and knowing that you're not gonna have the best six-figure job coming
Yeah.
out the door, especially straight out of college. You got to grind and you got to work your way up.
And
Which even
anymore,
for
it's
Mhm.
so competitive. There's so many people
Yeah,
that can do so many different things. So every opportunity that you get is precious, whether it's the one that you want that you want, or it's the one that you can. It's at least on the direction that you want to achieve. You got to take that opportunity, just because there's just so many people that want to do the same thing. Just when an opportunity presents itself, you have to take it.
absolutely. No, that's so true. And which I was gonna pivot to the next part, when it comes to fostering relationships. A lot of people, especially nowadays, the younger generation, whether it's the Alpha generation or Gen Z, they're thinking more about what's in it for me.
Mhm.
They may struggle with fostering relationships to make it a mutually beneficial relationship versus a one-sided relationship. And
Mhm.
when it comes to relationship currency, as we like to call it on the show. Like, how have you fostered your relationships over the years, even to the project currently that you are promoting today, that is on Amazon? Like,
Mhm.
talk to us about the importance of fostering relationships throughout your career so that you can still have the relationship and also a strong relationship with those that you built with along the way.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most important things next to your education that you're going to have in any professional career, not just a creative professional career in the movies or anywhere in a corporate environment. Relationships are key, whether you realize it at the moment or you don't. Because as we said just a moment ago, it is a very competitive world, and you never know when you're going to see somebody, when you're going to need somebody, when that person has a connection that's going to get you on the path that you want to go. So there are parts of your journey where, yes, you do have to be a little bit selfish, because it has to help you plan and have a direction to achieve your goals. But you're never going to be successful if you don't surround yourself with the people that are going to help make you successful. The people that are going to find things mutually beneficial, to when you're having success, when they're having success. They're going to help build on your success, that are not going to always make it about them, that are going to help and support you at every high and every low, because everybody will hit both of those. When you're struggling, especially if you're somebody that's going out and is not taking a corporate journey, if you're trying to self-start, if you're trying to build your own business from the ground up, there's nothing you can really do alone. Just because there's just so many different aspects of it. You may have the talents to be able to build and have the idea for the business, but the business still needs to operate. The business still needs to market. The business still needs to reach people. The business still needs to provide the service or the product, and you need people to make that product. You need people to help fulfill that service. So no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing, whether it's creative, whether it's corporate, whether it's self-built, people are going to be involved. And, every relationship matters, whether it's a customer relationship, whether it's a personal relationship. And it's so important to have that foundation of people. A perfect example with me is, I completely left the television industry, 10 years ago. And, one of the things that was instilled in me is, never burn bridges, make sure that, you always keep good connections with everybody, and, and help each other out. And, we look on all the relationships that I kind of made over the years back when I was in television. Then I took a 10-year gap to try to help build my own business. And now I have a movie that I'm coming out, and I'm reaching back out to some of those people, and there's still a support system, to help market, to help talk about, to help kind of do all that kind of stuff, because we built that foundation and that relationship 20 years ago. So, some relationships may not seem important up front. They may seem like they get in the way of what you're trying to do, but it's so important to surround yourself with the people that are going to support you, that you're able to support as well. Just because other people will support you doesn't mean that you'll support them. You have to be able to support them as well on whatever their journey is. And when you can collectively work together, you can always reach your goals, no matter how long it takes. Like I said, some of these relationships I had, 20 years ago, when it came to kind of putting my movie together. Those relationships were kind of the people that were part of my crew that kind of helped make this in the budget that I needed to make it in, that helped execute, in areas that I needed help to do in post-production, in actual production. Those relationships were built over the 10 years that I had my business here in Philly, my production business, and the camera guys I worked with, and the technicians I worked with, that I said, hey, here we go, here's the project. It doesn't pay what this first what I usually do, but here's the goal, here's the plan. I want you to be a part of it. Will you come on this journey? And, that's how we were able to put together something special. So, no matter what it is, the people you surround yourself with, how you treat people as a leader, there's leaders and there's bosses. Bosses kind of sit up top and, command down. Leaders kind of lead by example. Depending on what kind of leader, boss that you want to be, basically, you have to feel support from your team, and your team has to feel supported by you. And, dismissing people, looking at, I'm just reflecting back on what you said about, kind of this generation, kind of seemingly trying to do things a little bit more isolated, and just looking at kind of my own experience and, back when I first started, and trying to kind of do that a little bit on my own. And I quickly had a wake up call back in my internship days. And it's just, it's so important. It's so important to have a network of support, because you just never know when you're going to need it, or when they're going to need you, and what opportunities that's going to lead it to. You could have somebody that's part of a project early on, and if you're one of those boss leaders that, your team doesn't feel like that you're supporting them as much as they're supporting you, they may go off and go to the bigger project, or the bigger business or whatever it is, and need somebody that has the skills that you can offer that will give you that gateway. But that relationship, because it wasn't strong enough, and it wasn't mutual back when it first happened, that door may close, and now you don't have that opportunity. So it works both ways, from the team and from the leader/boss that you're going to be.
Yeah, no, that's important, for all creatives and entrepreneurs to know the ins and outs of fostering positive and also current relationships throughout the career, when you are building, especially a business or even a company, as you did,
Mhm.
which goes even into the background of technology and equipment. I know we talked to Cosmo a lot about recruiting team members, but even because you're more on the production side and the technical side with your production company that you started, like how should a creative or even an entrepreneur that wants to be a creative go about selecting their technology and equipment? Did you, when you first started off, or even still to this day, do you outsource your equipment? Do you hand pick your equipment? Talk to people who are into the technical side of production. How do you fund your production or your technology for your projects?
So technology is probably one of the more expensive parts of accomplishing anything like this. It's where your biggest investments are going to come. It's where your biggest expenses are going to come, and it's something that you really have to carefully, kind of think through. So a lot of the advice that I give, a lot of the people that are part of my team, is when you look at what you want to do, and what project that you want to accomplish, the big, shiny, cool pieces of technology always seem the first thing that you just kind of want to go grab, and you want to do. You want to have the drone on set, or you want to have the dolly, or anything like that. Equipment is a lot more accessible than you may think. So you need to be able to, especially when you're doing something on a smaller budget, you just need to prioritize kind of what your use is. Yes, the drone is really, really cool. It's a fun piece of equipment to use, and it's going to get a great shot. But are there ways to kind of get that shot in a different way? I had in fact, my director of photography, back when he first started working for me, he had his really cool camera, which he actually used to film the movie. And he kept just talking to me. He goes, "Oh, I want to get a jib, and I want to get this gimbal, and I want to get all this." And I said, "Dude, you only have one lens, and you have to kind of look at what you have, and you need to have the core and the foundation, kind of functional and operational, and that." And to be able to use before you get into all the things that are what I usually call eye candy. You can create a good shot with just a camera and a lens and a tripod. They did it for many, many years. I encourage anybody to go back and watch, how they made movies, in the 60s and 70s, and just take one of your DVDs or your Blu-rays or one of your digital special features and go back and watch like the making of Indiana Jones or Jaws, and just kind of see everything they went through. They made those movies with less equipment than we have now. So it's just really important that when you're looking at your equipment, that you're investing in the fundamentals that you need to accomplish what you need successfully. If once you build that core, you want good lighting, you want a good camera, and you want good lenses, and you want good audio. That's kind of on a movie standpoint, your kind of core four that you need for a successful production. Anything additional is just extra, because you can make a very, very good movie if you have those core fours. If you sit there and you just I just want this really cool shot, so I want to have the drone, and you invest in that, and you're not investing in your audio, you can have the best looking in audio or best looking film in the world. If people are going to go sit in the movie theater and you put your movie on and it sounds like a home movie, you've just lost everything that you invest, because people are like, yo, what is this? So it's really important that when you're looking at technology, because there is so much of it, that if it's something that you're purchasing to own, make sure it's a core part of what you need to succeed. So, in my industry, if the first thing I would invest in is a good camera. Next, the camera needs a good lens, and then I need good audio. So, and then you need good lighting. So I can make a really good movie, and we pretty much made Nico with just that. We had opportunities where, we wanted dollies and we wanted other things, and we were able to use a small portion of the budget to rent that, for the one or two shots that we need. But for the most part, you can accomplish everything as long as you have the foundation and you use your foundation and that technology well. It's amazing how far these have come with, just the lenses, and if that's the only thing that you have available to you, the 4K on an iPhone anymore is just crazy. It's just crazy. So affordable technology is everywhere. You just want to make sure that you're not just grabbing stuff because it's cool. You want to make sure that you're able to execute your project successfully, and then when you're in a field like movie making, it's not just the production that you have to think about when you're funding all of this. We've completed filming Nico 2 years ago. It just came out 3 weeks ago. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in between. So, you got to make sure that the core of every stage of the process is being executed. We had to make sure that we had the good editing systems, that we hired the right people. Again, we're going to go back to people, because you can have all the technology in the world. If you don't have the right people to use that technology, you're not going to get the best result about it. So, we had to make sure the people that can color the movie, the people that actually edit the audio, the people that can, put together, the actual edit of the movie, everything that comes together. So, a movie that on today's scales, we spent $100,000 on, most people would be like, yo, what kind of movie is that? In classification purposes, it's a micro budget movie. But we still got picked up by a distributor, and it still got released, on Amazon, on Fandango. It's coming out on Tubi in 2 weeks, and on Peacock next year. So, the as much as, all the cool stuff that you see in movies, are very easy to just kind of go out and say, hey, I want to do that. I want that piece of technology. I want that piece of equipment. Make sure before you go through that, you have your foundation and you're able to use it and execute it. Or else, it doesn't matter how much technology you have. It's just not going to come out well.
Yeah, no, that's perfect when it comes to funding technology, because as you said, you could have all the bells and whistles, but if your audio is not
Yeah.
able to be heard by the audience, then you basically put together a glamorized film that you can't enjoy as a viewer or as a consumer, because they can't even hear the content.
Yeah, I mean, not every film is going to be able to, if that's the direction that you're going to, and you can even apply this to most small businesses. You're not going to not everything that you do is going to have that big investor that comes in and just gives you an open checkbook. In my industry, not every movie is going to be funded by Universal. That can bankroll something for $250 million. Some films you're going to have to scrap and pay and get a couple $1,000s from this sponsor, or get a couple thousands from that sponsor, or go into your retirement, or go into your daughter's college fund. I'm not saying I did that, but maybe I did that. So go watch the movie because I need her college fund back. But there's different ways of funding. But when for the majority of us, whether in business or in movies or whatever it is, we're not going to have the big backing of something like a Universal Pictures, or we're not going to have the big backing of a Comcast. And you're really going to have to work hard to find the funds to be able to do that. It's a little bit more challenging in industry like a creative industry like filmmaking, because there's not instant returns. We're in pre-production for 6 to 8 to 10 months. And that's the part where, we had to be able to secure the funds before we went to pre-production to know we can make this movie. And then, we were in production for 10 days, which nobody told me I could do, but you're on an independent budget. You figure out how to do it in 10 days. And then you have a year where you're in post-production and you're trying to sell your movie. And then it gets sold, and then it gets released. And like I said, I believe it was 2 years ago. This coming, what date is it? It's the 20th. I believe the 21st of 2022 was when we finished the movie. So we're almost at 2 years to the date, and it's just getting released. And we've only been hopefully making money off of it for 3 weeks. So we're still not seeing that. So finding investors that are for something like that are willing just to wait this long period of time, it's a lot more challenging. So you have to kind of get creative when you're finding, finding the funds for this, finding the sponsors that, you can have the cup of coffee in the movie, product placement, and getting creative, because, you're not always going to have that big investment. So you just got to be smart about it. So you don't want to take that when it's that hard to find the money to be able to do what you do. You just don't want to say, okay, I'm just going to buy all this big expensive equipment and that's why we're going to be great. If the talent's not behind it and you can't execute using that equipment, it's completely worthless, and you've just blown all your funds and you've just blown your opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to pivot into before we get ready to wind down shortly.
Mhm.
Is especially on the production side, everyone always talks about the cast and
Mhm.
the actors and the acting, but even there's tons of technical production roles that people
Mhm.
are not aware of that go into making a big budget creative film, or even independent film. And so,
Yep.
like, talk to us about when you started your production company all the way until now, or even when you worked at NBC. Like,
Mhm.
how does the payment process go out for your production team? Do they go out the same time as the actors that you're soliciting to make your film? Does production get paid on the back end? Give people like a behind the scenes look on how does the production budget get funded for a film, and how do the payments go out? Or even if you're not
Right.
paying creative financing for your production team.
Yeah, so that's probably, especially when you're either a smaller business or a smaller production, that's probably the most work that you have to do, because you have to figure out how to make this budget work for this long period of time while making sure you're paying the people that that are going to make this successful. So those are the actors, and those are the behind the scenes guys, and you don't want to keep them saying, where's your money, where's my money, where's my money, where's my money. I can't tell you, there's a lot of platforms where you can find production work. One of them is backstage.com, and you can go on there, and I can't tell you how many different, that's where we did a lot of our casting, because it was an affordable option to be able to find actors, and in areas that we don't know, especially if you can't afford a casting director. But we were looking at some of the productions, and some people were just like, "Oh, it's profit share and all this other kind of." Listen, I made $100,000 movie. As much as I think it's great and it's wonderful, there's no guarantee it's going to make $100,000, and anybody's going to see all that. So it's really important. Again, this is why you don't go after all the big, shiny production tools and technology, because the biggest core to any business and to any movie is the team that you have around you. You want to make sure that you hire the best and you can pay the best. So we made sure that all the core players on our team would be able to be paid by the day that we wrapped, within 30 days. That was kind of the rule. And for those who probably had a little bit more involvement, we did also give them profit share. A lot of movies don't do that. For when, if we ever do get into a profit. But it's really important to take care of the people that are closest to you, because whatever level of success that you achieve with the business, with the film, with your crew, you always want your cast and crew to be appreciated and to be able to help you succeed on your next project. Nico was one of the first films that I actually ever did from start to finish. I've been on small little parts of movies from here and there, as production assistants and all that, but this was the first full-fledged production. And talking to Vega and a lot of the cast who have been doing independent film and these small micro-budget films for a long period of time, I'm telling you, the first couple weeks of production, and it was just horror stories to hear how people were treated, how people weren't paid, people promising certain things and not delivering, and it made a sour experience, and it makes you really rethink your passions about the project. And I said, well, we're not going to do that. And we're going to make sure this is done right. And, I took care of my team. I took care of, my cast and my crew. I made sure everybody felt appreciated and a part of the project, and everybody was paid. And, a lot of the comments afterwards is, this is one of the best sets that I've ever been on. And immediately when you think that, I'm like, oh, that's great. I don't really think I did anything other outside of what you should do in a production process or how you should run a business. I just did it how you probably appropriately do that, but it was very much appreciated. And that goes a long way. And that goes back to kind of one of our earlier parts of the conversation about relationships, because now here we are a year and a half later, and I can call up any of those cast members and I said, hey, I have a podcast, or I have somebody down in DC where you are. Do you want to, just take an hour of your time, to just go out and promote the film? Without question, they're out there helping me promote the product and helping me, push out what we're trying to sell. And they're very, very willing to do that. And, when we're sending out marketing materials and sharing things, it makes people want to be on the process and see everything through. So it's really, really important that when you're being funded, especially when you're being funded on a limited basis, that you allocate your resources appropriately. You have the right core of technology that you need to execute. You have the right core of people around you in order to get the job that you need done. And listen, Nico's not something that's going to win an Academy Award, but when you look at the budget level of film that we did, the fact of the matter that within 8 months of us finishing the film, we got distribution, something that not a lot of independent films even get to that level. We got picked up by Buffalo 8. They currently, I don't know if you heard of the Terrifier 3. They're kind of part of that group. We're not as big as that. We're not making it that much money. But to be able to be recognized by a distribution company, that that big. I couldn't have done that without having that continued support of my cast and my crew, and being completely engaged in the post-production and the marketing process. And it all comes down to the fact that, they were taken care of while they were working, they were paid on time, and they really just enjoyed the process. So it's so important.
Yeah, and that was what we were going to wind down with. You talked about distribution.
Hmm.
A lot of people have that go over their head a lot of
Yeah.
times when it comes to being picked up by a major distributor. You spoke about names like Tubi, Fandango,
Hmm.
Amazon. You've worked in, of course, the big networks for NBC when you first started off, compared to working on now your own content and creative
Right.
films and projects. Like, how is the process to get a distributor, even from where you started at, seeing it from major network now to working on your own creative independent projects? Like, how is that process? Is it that you
It's
have a
hard.
representative? Yeah, do you have a
It's hard.
representative? Do you have to have a portfolio? Like, give people a small, I know we only have a little bit of time, but a small lens behind how do you get
Yeah,
a
I
distribution
mean, just
for a
just
creative
kind of
project?
quickly. I mean, I don't have a film portfolio. This was my first major film, and we were able to pick up distribution. And it comes to being smart about how you put everything together, and having realistic expectations. Everybody wants their movie to be in the theater, right? But you have to look at, okay, something that I actually learned in the process, because we actually tried to do that first. But you have to think about, obviously, if the theater is going to want you to market in order to make sure people are filling the seats, do you have the budget to be able to market, to put theaters in the seats? AMC theaters wanted $3,000 per week per theater that it was in. So when you're on a universal movie scale, that's a lot easier, that's a lot affordable, and that's a lot of the cost. Which, when you see this movie costs $250 million to make, a lot of that money comes from the marketing, because it's so expensive, to be able to do that. So, sitting there on a platform that is being a little bit more realistic about it, you can reach the same audience on a streaming platform, or on a pay to rent buy type of platform. So, if you don't have the budget to be able to do something that grand scale, well, then go a little bit smaller, and have a bit, and take that budget and invest it all into that, and you'll reach just the same amount, same a big audience. And you don't always have to take the path that you think everybody else has to take. It may be out of your wheelhouse, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. um, you know Again, when we first got signed on for distribution, the one thing that we want to do, I mean, there was a couple distributors that we were looking at that actually asked about the movie, and we had to look at what was going to be the most beneficial to us. I mean, there's a lot of, especially in Hollywood, everybody wants their hands on everything. Everything's a money grab, and so you got to read the fine print. You got to go through everything and make sure that it's going to be beneficial in the end. We went with the distribution company that we did because it felt more of a partnership, which was very important. They weren't one of the companies that asked us for any money up front, and talked about, obviously we had to give a little bit of bigger percentage away, but that made us feel like they were invested into the success of our movie as much as we are, because they didn't make money unless we made money, versus having to pay somebody a $5,000 or $10,000 fee up front. So, just because there's a formula for how, big companies or big movies are supposed to, distribute things, doesn't mean that's the path that you have to do. You have to find the path where you can be the most successful. So if your budget doesn't have enough to do a theater run, for at $3,000 a theater, per week, per theater, then don't do it. Don't try to force yourself. Don't go bankrupt, or don't blow everything just to have that one cool experience. Have more longer term success. And that's kind of what you have to look into when you do it. There's plenty of opportunities on any scale and any budget to be able to find distribution, to be able to fund the movie that you want to do, to be able to do it. You just have to make sure that throughout the entire process, you're uh, making the smart decisions throughout the process. So,
Yeah, no, that's important for people to know, because they may think it's that far attainable with not being able to get a distributor versus,
Yeah.
of course, wanting to all of the filmmakers, of course, want to see their movie in the big screen or on the big
Mhm.
screen. But there's many different ways to go about it to still be successful as a filmmaker. And so before we let you go as a final jewel, we know we talked about your history, your
Mhm.
background. We've talked about how you fund your projects for technology, for production. We talked about your distribution process that you went through firsthand for the
Mhm.
first time. Um, like, what pitfalls would you tell an up and coming content creator, filmmaker, or even someone who may be into the production side
Mhm.
that wants to get their project funded and also to reach their core audience? Like, what pitfall would you tell them to look out for from what you've seen with this first major film that you have single-handedly walked through the entire process? What would you tell that filmmaker to look out for as a pitfall or an error to keep in mind?
Expect the unexpected. You kind of have to be you gotta have to be prepared for for everything, and you have to be able to kind of troubleshoot for anything to go wrong at any single moment, because most likely it is going to go wrong. When you're on a smaller budget, it becomes a little bit more of a bigger and a glaring problem. The most important thing that you have to do is not panic and find a solution for it. Whether you're in the middle of a shoot and a piece of equipment breaks, or something that you invested in doesn't turn out, or some marketing campaign doesn't work. Not everything is going to be 100% successful, and especially in a creative industry. Everything, the biggest thing that you have to be prepared for is everything is very subjective. Not everybody's going to love the work that you do. I absolutely love this movie. It has a great story, but it is very story driven because we are an independent movie and we don't have the money for special effects, but it is told very well. That's not everybody's cup of tea. It's very well executed. The people who appreciate movies and the reviews that we've been getting for it have been positive, but there are some people that just don't like it. You can't take any of that personally, especially when you're in a creative industry. It is very, very subjective. You kind of have to tune out the noise. Take your wins when you get them, and celebrate. It doesn't even matter how small it is. You may not get into every film festival that you want to get into, but when you get into a festival, even if it's small, if you win, celebrate that. Post about it on social media. Most of the people that you're advertising to have no clue that it's not a Tribeca size film festival. So take those opportunities and do it well, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities, especially in a creative opportunities, where people are going to try to take you down, or are going to try to backstab you, or are going to try to at a for whatever reason, try to make it look like, we've had some comments on our trailers and everything, like, I can make a better movie in my basement and that kind of stuff. People, for some reason, are going to try to do that. And it's something that you kind of have to just, brush off your shoulder and keep moving forward, stand by your work, move forward, because, for the most part, everything everything is going to be pretty positive. You can see it with a lot of things. Right now, I think Red One is just getting killed because of their budget, and people are talking about it and trying to take it down. But if you actually go watch the movie, it's not bad. There's gonna be a lot of negativity, especially when you're putting something out there in the open for people to consume, to share, and it's on a large platform. You just got to tune it out, and just be proud of what you're doing. If you're out on that platform, somebody believed that you could do it. And it should be great that you put it out there, and there are going to be plenty of people that enjoy the work that you do.
Absolutely. That's an excellent final jewel. And
Mm-hmm.
so tell people, Cosmo, before we let you go, tell them about Nico. I know I've definitely looked at the trailer when we
Mm-hmm.
interviewed Vega, and also heard a lot of great things about it, as you said, but let people know about the film, where they can find it, how they can support you, and also what other projects do you have coming down the pipeline or that you're even working on right now so people can look out for.
Yeah, so Nico's a crime thriller that kind of follows a detective who experienced a tragic event about from a kid from his past, and he's part of the detective unit that kind of investigated this, and he starts kind of uncovering that everything might not be able to, it may not be what it seems. And because of his relationship with this kid, he finds a personal connection to it, and kind of takes a more personal investment into solving this crime, uncovers a lot of things, and kind of goes through that whole thing about what we talked about earlier about surrounding people, surrounding yourself with the people that you trust, and not everybody may be trustworthy, and not every avenue that you think is looking out for you and looking out for the best may be what it seems. So it's a great story. There's a few twists and turns in it that I think you'll enjoy. But I think it's a story that a lot of people can relate to. When it comes to just personal quests and personal ambitions, and when it comes to what you would do for the people that you care about, that are closest to you. So it just came out on Amazon Prime, where you can rent and buy right now. It's on Prime Video. It is on Fandango at home. You can watch it on Verizon, Vios, and Spectrum cable networks. And on November 29th, it'll be available on Tubi. And coming early next year, it'll be available on Peacock. So the best thing you can do right now, as is to make sure that you go out, rent, buy, and support the movie, so people can so people can experience this. We are one of those small independent films. So the more people that watch, the more traction that it can get is how you can best help us. Whether you like it, whether you didn't like it, go out and write a review about it. We want people to just talk about it. Go on IMDb, go on your social media platforms. We have everything available at nicomovie.com, where you can watch it. Rotten Tomatoes, wherever it is. Letterboxd, is a great social app to talk about it. Just talk about the movie, watch it. It's only $2.99 to rent, $5.99 to buy, so it's a cup of coffee. Sit back, enjoy. We kept it under 2 hours on purpose, and I think it's something that anybody, especially if you like filmmaking, will appreciate. And if you like a good story, especially if you're into crime thrillers, I think it's something that you'll really enjoy, and is a nice weekend watch. So go out, support it, and let us know your thoughts. We love to engage with you online when we hear about it. Again, you can like it, you can hate it, just talk about it.
I love that. And what projects can people expect that may be coming down the pipeline? Do you have anything that's in the oven right now? Let people know how they can even support you through Cosmo. Where can they find you if they have any questions after today for you too, or comments?
Yeah. So we have on my end, I am currently working. I always love horror, so horror is the next genre that I would like to step into. I know Vega, who you mentioned a lot, has his movie The Burden of Nine Lives, which actually came out already. And it will also be out in streaming the week after Nico. He's looking to go a little bit more into a comedy. We've had a lot of action movies that we've been a part of. So we're kind of looking at that. So that's kind of what's in development right now. And anybody who just wants to chat about movies, I'm pretty prominent, like most active on Instagram. You can find me at Cosmo Losco, and I'd be happy to chat. Anything that you want to do, any questions that you have, just reach out. I'll always talk business. I'll always talk film. I've done it all. I ran my business. I made a film. Any questions that you may have.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking time out again, Cosmo, of your busy schedule. We know we're going to be marketing. Of course, y'all go and see the film Nico, just like Cosmo has told you today. It's definitely a passionate project that he and also Vega, who were both the filmmakers on this project, created. And we definitely want to give a big up to you for seeing through the entire first major film project for you, and also even for Vega. And so that's something that we can't take lightly. We wanted to definitely give a big up. Congratulations for you seeing do
I
your best.
wasn't gray when this started, so
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And y'all go out and support Cosmo. He said he's very active. If you have any other questions for him, definitely reach out to him on his social media Instagram handle. Cosmo, it's been a pleasure
Thank
serving with
you.
you today, sir. You enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you so
All right.
much for joining
Thank
us.
you. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna do a quick wrap up for some jewels for thought. You all heard directly from another filmmaker, another entrepreneur, another content creator that you need to be able to find a way to make your projects, to make your ideas a reality. We talk about finances a lot on the Smart Financial Jewels pod, but you also have to know how to fund certain projects that you're going to be working on. You may have the ideas, you may have the blueprint, you may even have the business plan, but it always needs funding for technology. You heard Cosmo talk about for the production, for your team that you are going to be working with, even to get distribution. You have to know the finances. And so, know your numbers. Start where you are is a theme that I heard Cosmo say a lot. Make sure you get your foot in the door. People are coming into the film industry thinking that they're going to be automatically cast or automatically picked up by a major distributor or be cast in a major film. Sometimes you may have to grind it out. You may have to get on a couple passion projects, work for free, work as an intern, even as you heard Cosmo say, to build up your not just credibility, even your education behind how the film industry works, whether you're independent or whether you're major film or whether even on television versus in film. There is a difference. And you heard firsthand from someone who has been in the industry, who has been groomed and raised in the industry to be also a successful entrepreneur, business owner, and filmmaker, how his process was able to manifest and even how it is continuing to manifest into being a successful reality. And so we hope you've enjoyed today's episode with Cosmo for our pod today. Feel free to like and subscribe. You can stay connected with myself and also our pod on social media at King King, I'm sorry, Jewelz Speaks, or Smart Jewels Jewelz Enterprises. Or you can go to our website to see all of our podcasts and our content we are creating at smartjewelzenterprises.org. I'm King Jewelz signing off for our Smart Financial Jewels podcast today. Check out our show notes if you want to stay connected again with the Nico film and also with Cosmo and see what other creative projects he has coming down the pipeline. Feel free to click on any of the links in our show notes, and we will see you at our next episode. Make sure you shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be, and make sure you take care of your finances, and your finances will take care of you. Peace.